Hi, it's Carol from Crinkled Path, and I'm back again today with another Altered Book Memory Keeping Junk Journal with Me episode. This book is getting chunky and a bit alligator mouth. I went ahead and pulled another, maybe 8 or 10 pages out of the back. So I really only have like a page and a half left that are blank, and I have a couple of spots in the middle that I need to go back and fill. And so we're getting close to finishing this first one. Sorry, I'm sure the lighting's bad with I'm holding the book up like that. I thought I'd work on this page today. This is my inspiration piece. When I was a child, and I have mentioned in a past video about how every summer, I think through August, we would go to North Dakota to the family farm and help with wheat harvest. And my dad and brother would drive combines. And one of the things that I usually got for the trip to drive back there from California was some kind of activity book. And one of my favorites were these books where you punched out little buildings, and then each page was sort of a card stock, and they were perforated, so you punched them out, and then they had little tabs, so you folded them to be little 3D houses. And I want to say I remember having like a frontier village and a farm, different years. Each year I'd get like one activity book for the road. And this page just reminded me of that, although it is an illustration of doing your own village from scratch. They have some basic patterns for like the people here. Anyway, it just reminded me of those activity books and how much I adore them. And I keep seeing one that's sitting in the children's book section at my local thrift store, but I don't need a whole set in order to recall the memory. So I love that I found this picture in a craft book. So I'm going to put this on the page here, but then I wanted to incorporate some kind of pop-up element. And I grabbed one of my journaling Bibles. So this is my second journaling Bible. And on one of the retreats we went on, one of the ladies brought a Flow magazine, which is a paper crafting magazine, and they are thick, like Sears catalog Christmas wish book thick from when I was a kid. And they have lots of paper items in them. And so one of the things we did, this was from 2018, was we made these little pop-up houses. My daughter actually was instrumental in helping with the engineering to get it to pop up out of the book. I could cut and fold it, but then trying to get it to fit on the page so that it didn't hang out too much, and then when you pulled the page open, it would pop up. But I was thinking about maybe doing something like that, which is why I pulled out the book. But then, kind of looking at this and the pattern, I'd have to disassemble this to really duplicate it, and I don't want to pull it out of here because it was so tricky to get it where it's actually working. So anyway, that was one idea. And I went on Pinterest and I looked up pattern ideas, and everything was sort of cut from the page. So I thought a second idea might be that I'm going to put this on the page, and then I'm going to maybe do some clouds up on the top that are a fold-up piece that I can do journaling in. I have a lot of memories about those long car trips and those times where we were on the farm or visiting my grandparents who lived in town in the same area. And so I thought I'd give myself more journaling space by making some pop-up clouds. And so I got a variety of papers here that I'm going to try to do some layered clouds with. So I just pulled some of my papers from my small scrapbook tablets, and a piece of star chart, a doily, and then just a basic binder paper. So let's get started with gluing this in and making some clouds. Now I want to take these different papers and I want to layer them. So let's see, I think I want this one at the top. That one second. This one third. Fourth. And let's see, maybe I want this in between because it's a little flimsier. Like that. And then the doily. And I don't want it to cover my whole page. Let me scoot this a little over. So how much do I want of each? That's what I need to figure out. Just enough to give me a little bit of a overlap. And then I'm going to cut freehand some cloud shapes. I'm going to trim this off and just use this bottom edge. Okay, the doily is the narrowest, and then these are the second narrowest. So I think I'm going to go with this width and then just center this once I get the rest of these cut. So let me grab my paper cutter. I need to figure out a way to clamp these. So, first thing I'm gonna do is trim this a little. This edge doesn't matter because it's probably gonna get cut off anyway. So I'm just going to trim them so they're all the same width. Grab a binder clip. Hopefully I've got most of it in there. And then I can save that piece for some time later. Now what I want to do is cut my cloud shape into, oh no, first I was going to trim it, sorry. Okay, now I can work on a little more manageable size. And I brought my current favorite fussy cutting scissors. And I'm gonna go ahead and take, let's see, do I wanna take that one off? Or maybe I'll leave it there so that I can make sure I'm not going underneath it. Just poking out a little bit. Yeah, I think I like that better. Now, let's see. I think I'm gonna go ahead and work on this one just a little bit more because it's very flat and I want more of a contrast for this first layer. Like more extreme cloud shape. There we go. That's a little better. I'm feeling like this layer's in the same boat where it's just too flat. More dimension needed. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So I want them even. Try and tap them down. And then I'm going to try and hold them with my hand and cut them all with the paper trimmer at once. It's going to be a little tough because they're pretty thick, but I don't want it covering my entire page, so I'm going to trim it down a little shorter. Actually, this is where I want to fold it so that it's a pop-up. So I want to give myself a little room to glue. So let's give ourselves like maybe an inch or half, 3/4 of an inch. Nope, not quite all the way through. That's a stretch. Okay. Now I'm going to go get my scoring board. I'm going to turn these all over and I'm going to score them all at like 3/4 of an inch. And I'll be very delicate with this first one because the doily will just tear really easily if I'm too much pressure on it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now the next thing I'm going to do is move my book out of the way. I keep working with it here. I tell you, one of these days there's got to be more desk here. So for each of these that have a colorful backing, I want to give myself some room for journaling space. So I'm going to go ahead and just use some white acrylic paint. I like Apple Barrel paints. They're very inexpensive. They are smooth for writing on, and they also don't have a real glossy finish. So not entirely matte, but also not terribly glossy. So I just want to get a little bit of a whitewash on these so that if I write, my journaling will show up. Give this a moment to dry, and then we'll put them together and glue them down to the page. I'm curious to know, was it just my family or did everybody take crazy road trips? Let me know in the comments if you ever had to endure long, hot, unair-conditioned rides with the windows down across the US. I think in hindsight, it was actually a privilege. Once my older siblings were into hiking, we actually did more stopping and less of the drive straight through the night for hours and days on end that my dad liked to do. And we got to see some national parks, which is a huge privilege for kids. And I still love to go to national parks, probably because of that early love of them. And I do not see very many families from the US when we visit the national parks. It's mostly international families that we see visiting. And This last year with COVID, we were able to still go to some national parks in Arizona over Christmas, and it was very odd to see very few people there, and because the international crowd is not able to travel right now. I just hope you'll share with me some stories of your childhood outings, and maybe if you didn't get to go places, you can share with me something that you did to pass time when you were stuck bored while your parents were doing something else, like my pop-up books. And how it also included this picture, which reminds me of those little pop-up houses I used to make. So thanks for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.